Hello, I'm Tony Hannity's with LazyTechGuys.com. You're watching Lazy Tech TV, and this is our review of the LG G4. Stay tuned. This is the LG G4. Since the LG Nexus 4 and the LG G2, the company has been slowly but surely improving their overall hardware design and software. The LG G4 is definitely, if not the best smartphone of 2015 so far. The specs on this phone are a beast, sporting a 5.5 IPS quantum dot display at 2560 by 1440 resolution, Android 5.1 Lollipop, Snapdragon 808 processor, 3 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs internal memory, and supports up to 2 terabytes in a micro SD card. Unlike some of its competitors, this has a plastic build. However, with that, it only weighs 155 grams and is 9.8 millimeters thick. The phone is powered by micro USB and has a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack on the bottom rather than the top. On the bottom rear, you have your stereo speaker. I wasn't sure if I was going to be a fan of the speaker considering it's on the back, but it's pretty loud, especially when listening to Netflix or YouTube. Now recently, LG Signature Design has the power and volume controls on the rear of the phone right under the camera lens, and the LG G4 is no exception. It's actually very well placed, especially when you need quick access to the power or volume. And after a few hours, you get used to it. Believe me, going back to my Nexus 6, I was looking for the controls on the back of that. Now, LG has been criticized for having heavy software. They really now just call it the LG UI, nothing special. And it really isn't much special. It has a pastel kind of look and feel to it, so a little bit material design. And similar to that of the Samsung TouchWiz, you have your apps and your widgets, and they're easily accessible. You can drag and drop onto your home screen. One thing that I do like is that when you're on your app drawer, in the upper right hand corner in the ellipses, you have the ability to hide or show apps. This was a feature I really liked in Samsung's TouchWiz, and now that it's on LG's UI, it's really handy. Unfortunately, Google hasn't yet adopted it on their official Google Now launcher, so you just have to get used to seeing all the apps whether you want to or not. The notification shade also gives you controls that you won't find in the Nexus experience. Swiping down and left to right gets you your Q memo, toggle switches for Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and airplane mode, and of course that can all be edited. You have controls of your volume and your brightness right from the screen. And if you'll notice, user control. So you can add users, especially if you have a phone that you're sharing with the family, or as we know, our kids. The animation on this phone has been quite staggering. Even though this is pre-production issued, I have seen very little latency or slowdown. And even when using a heavy app with photos or video, scrolling is very smooth, and it didn't freeze up on me, unlike some other phones have in the past when doing reviews. Now, one thing this phone has is the dual window. Samsung, if I'm not mistaken, was probably the first OEM to have this, but it's the idea that you can run 2 apps simultaneously on the same screen. So imagine you're watching a video of me dancing on Meerkat, but then you also want to read the article about my Meerkat experience/experiment. This dual window pretty much allows you to do that. And very similar to Samsung's TouchWiz, you can resize the windows either from the top or the bottom. Going back to the hardware, let's take a look underneath the hood. There is one of 4 official options for the LG G4's rear cover. Most notably, you can get it in genuine leather finish, either black or brown. On the inside, it supports NFC, and in the battery, you've got 3000 milliamps, micro SIM and micro SD slot, up to 2 terabyte support. 2. It's crazy, LG. Awesome job. Now the volume toggle switches do more than just control volume. If you double tap the up button, it'll automatically launch Quick Memo, which is LG's app for quick notes, memos, and things like that, especially if you're trying to get phone numbers, quick emails down. It's actually quite handy. Conversely, if you double tap the volume down button, it'll automatically launch the camera and take a picture of whatever you're pointing your phone at. This unfortunately did not work every time. As you can see by this demo, I tried to double tap it a number of times, and even though the picture was in focus, it wouldn't take the picture. However, there were a few times that I did find this useful, especially with little kids running around. I was able to capture a couple of moments that were pretty awesome. This brings us to the highlight feature of this phone, the camera. Actually, it has two really good cameras. The front-facing camera is 8 megapixels. 8! Most cameras these days have 5, if that. One gesture that I think is quite handy with this phone is the fact that you can just swipe across a screen and it will switch between the front-facing camera or the rear-facing camera. Now the main camera is awesome. It has controls from simple, auto, all the way to manual, and the Pro controls are even better than the Galaxy S6. You also have panoramic and dual shot, which is pretty indicative of a lot of the phones that are out there. HDR, change the aspect ratio, and the ability to just say cheese and it'll take the photo for you. And when you're using manual mode, not only do you have the ability to change the ISO, but you also have control over the shutter speed. This is one reason why it's better than the Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge. When you're clicking through, as you can see here in this video, it changes the light, it opens up the shutter, and you can really get those picture perfect, no pun intended, photographs that you were intending without having to pull out a DSLR. To give you some ideas of what those look like, take a look here. In addition to laser focus, the camera also has CSS, or color spectrum sensor. This gives you the ability to see the crisp color that you would expect from the camera, so when you look at red, you see red. And with its 1.8 aperture lens, you're gonna get some great shots, especially when you shoot in RAW. The LG G4 is available internationally and will come to the United States within the next month. Now, a lot of people have asked me, how is the LG G4 in comparison to the Galaxy S6 or the Galaxy S6 Edge? And to that I say, I don't really know. I have yet to get a long-term experience with the S6 or S6 Edge. However, what I can tell you is two things that this has that the S6 and S6 Edge don't have, and they are removable battery and a micro SD card. Now for me, I have a Nexus 6, so the micro SD card is neither here nor there, and you could argue having a micro SD card adds insecurity to your overall device. With the removable battery though, that is very important. Now, this does have quick charge using the Qualcomm 808 processor. Now, they don't call it quick charge, but it is pretty quick, and you do need a specific charger for that to work with. Also, as mentioned before, it has wireless charging capabilities, however, you need the proper backing for that. And right now, LG only has one backing that officially supports it, and it's the Folio back with their LG Circle case. For the most part, having that removable battery could make or break the experience, especially since from what I hear, the battery life of the S6 and the Edge aren't very good at all. Now, my overall experience with this has been very good. Now, I've only really been able to use this over Wi-Fi. Truth be told, I'm in the process of getting a T-Mobile SIM card, but over Wi-Fi, using it for Skype calls and Hangout calls, it's been phenomenal. And when I use it for things like Meerkat and Periscope, I must say I get a lot of comments saying the front-facing camera looks a lot better than those from an iPhone, which is really kind of cool. Now, when it comes to the overall build of the LG G4, there's a few questions that come to mind. Specifically, why plastic? Not just the back. I mean, I know there's the leather one coming, and we still don't know yet the American price for that. But I'm just saying the overall build. Now, this might look metal, but it's not. It's, it's a coating over plastic. And with plastic comes, lightness. This is pretty light. And that might be a good thing for some of you. But it also means that it's a lot more susceptible for it to fall out, which is why I would maybe recommend a case or get the leather backing if you can. But that is in the world of iPhones that have a metallic aluminum frame, the HTC M9, obviously the Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge. Those are all metal, and we're getting into a realm where not necessarily the high-end phones have to be metal, but it's kind of nice. Even with that being said, the one thing that really fires away on this one is the screen. Now, if you're not really into the oversaturated screen like the Galaxy S6, this is really, really beautiful. LG, as we know, makes some beautiful panels. They pull no punches whatsoever. So I'm very happy with the LG G4. It is by far, of the phones that I've tested in 2015, the best phone to date, minus the plastic nature of it. But if you've ever seen my reviews, I cover my phones in cases anyway, so I can get over it pretty quickly. If you have any questions or concerns or comments or anything else, please let us know in the section below here on YouTube, or check us out at lazytechguys.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, Google+, and Facebook, and you can always call us at 707-722-5299. That's it for me right now. You guys take care. We'll talk to you in the next one. Late.